Hello, my friends. Today I just bring what I have just been taught of authorities and love and how the world views everything different from the children of God, and how the world will unite with each other as one against a child of God because they do not see what is the most important thing. And this is a very simple example, one which can happen at any point in your day with your family or with others, that shows where the hearts of men are. Before I even get started with this, we can go way back to Genesis. And God said, "Let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all of the wild animals, and over all of the creatures that move along the ground." God gives man authority over every other creature on the earth except for those like him. So in other words, every human being is equal, as we are all created in the flesh as an image of God. We do not go above our neighbors. We do not go above anybody. We are equal with all. But what we do go above is everything else in the world made of flesh. Everything else in the world made of atoms, whatever it is. Mankind is above all of them over the earth. And in this example, I use a child, a caterpillar, and I use love. Now, in this example that I share with you, it's of authority. And for yourself, before I reveal certain things that come from this test, you can ponder in your own hearts what is more important. So I have a child, and this is just a made up kind of a story of an event, but it tells you everything you need to know of the world. So I have a child who adores a caterpillar, and this child hunts day and night when they are outside for a caterpillar that crawls on the ground, just like and over all the creatures that move along the ground. And this child, while they have this caterpillar, they truly, with all of their heart, because they are children, love that caterpillar. And that caterpillar to them becomes their most prized possession. So the child takes a caterpillar, and the child puts this caterpillar in a box, and the child walks around with this caterpillar all day and night, speaking of their love of this caterpillar. Meanwhile, you have those of the world come against this child because the caterpillar to them is suffering. And because the caterpillar is suffering, they want to take the joy away from the child for the benefit of a caterpillar which they deem as God's creature as well. And this caterpillar you can liken to the cattle in the field, the sheep on the farm, every other animal or creature in the entire world when viewed by the world and when viewed by a child of God. As this kind of an argument comes against others all of the time when we're talking about the conditions of cattle in a farm while they're suffering. But we have to remember, in a farm, where is the love? Is the love on loving those cattle, or is the love on the product of those cattle? So is the love on monetary value, greater value of yourself, or is the love on actually loving the cattle? So that's one question you can ask. But for this child who has this caterpillar, their love is purely and focused on that caterpillar. And those around this child who are of the world look at the child and they say, well, the child is making the caterpillar suffer. So we ask the question, and it's a very simple question. Where is the authority of a child of God, and where is the authority of the world? In Genesis, we learn we have authority over all things. But does that mean that we should make everything suffer? Of course not. Everything is made by God for His pleasure, including the things that crawl along the ground. We have to remember it's for His pleasure, not for our own, for His pleasure. And because we are created in the image of God, the things that give God pleasure will give us pleasure. So that is how we share in the kingdom with God. But the people of the world will say and do everything they can to make this child get rid of this caterpillar, because all they can see is the suffering of the caterpillar, though they do not know this, is worth more than the love of a child. That is what they deem. Because they know and see only flesh, they see what they perceive as flesh to be perishing, and they want to rescue it. But what have they done in the process if they take this flesh away from a child of God? They have said that flesh is worth more than love. Because they perceive flesh to be perishing, they put a priority over that flesh, over the priority of the love of a little child. That little child does not see flesh perishing. That little child forms a bond with that caterpillar in love. They don't see what the world sees. They only see love between them and their caterpillar. As those who are grown up and adults and twisted by the world, they only see suffering of that caterpillar. So the world will look at this scenario and they will take the caterpillar from the child because the caterpillar is suffering. And to them, that is the right thing to do according to God. But is that right according to God to do to the child? And the answer to this you can ponder in your own hearts. And what God has just walked me on it with is this is why the world acts as it does. They do not see the love and the bond. They only see the flesh. For if they saw the love the child has for this caterpillar, then they would know that love is eternal and greater than anything which is of the flesh. And because mankind has authority over all of these creatures, they would recognize that what pleases God is His own child pleased by His creation. And they would allow the child to love that caterpillar until the child then decides what is best for it. Now, in this scenario, we could have the adult take the caterpillar away and set it free, thus making the child in their bondage of love turn into a wild temper tantrum, more than likely, because the child is losing something that they love. And would that be worth it for God's creature to be put in a situation where it is taking love away from a child? And the answer is no, according to the scriptures and according to love. If that child truly has a bond and loves that creature, then God gets the pleasure of the love that child has for that creature and not the creature itself. All things are made for Him. Thus, all things are made for us. Now, is that caterpillar suffering? We don't really know. But what we do know is that the child does not see the caterpillar suffer. It only sees the bond. So we can know by this that the child is pleased by this caterpillar. And that should be all that matters. Everything that comes after that does not matter at that point, because the love the child has for this being. But what the world will do is, because it sees flesh, it will say that the flesh is worth more than the love. Thus, it will nullify God's word by saying that love is worth less than flesh, by saying that love is worth less than something which is temporal. And this happens for all kind of things in the world. You could take a caterpillar, you could put a cow in there, you put anything in there. It happens, cats, dogs, it happens every single day for those who are of the world. They do this every single day because they value flesh more than they value love. Now, let's say that this was the test that God has just given you. Did you take that caterpillar away from the child, or did you let the child have the caterpillar and decide what is best for the caterpillar themselves because they love it? And I'm going to tell you what the child does in this situation. When you teach your child correctly about things of life and death, they do not want to see things suffer. They do not want to see things perish. That child, because you have instilled into them the things God has instilled into you, that child will take the caterpillar and decide by themselves that that caterpillar should be released so that he can live and have a family. If you raise your children right, my friends, they will decide for themselves, even at the age of 2 or 3, that God's creation is important and life is important. And they will release that caterpillar still with the love in their heart, not taken from them, but grown because they have then released it themselves. If you simply let them make the decision out of love themselves. My friends, the moral of this story is do not take from a little child what brings them love. Teach the little child why they love something. Teach the little child the worth of life, and the little child themselves will determine what is best for those creatures which they love. And this goes for cats, for dogs, for anything. A little child can make the right decision based upon love. Why can those in the image of God not see it? God bless.